Thank you very much, folks, for joining us today. Again, my name is Johnny Hernandez. I am with Oats and Senior Planet from AARP, a technology trainer with Senior Planet. Today's program, Learning a New Language, Best Practices, Technology, and Community, features experienced Italian language educator Rosa Di Grottole. I hope I said that correctly, who will share practical strategies for adult learners embarking on new languages. Now, before I introduce our presenter, I'll mention that Senior Planet seeks out subject matter experts for these particular programs, many of which have used their expertise in the for-profit sector. We're thrilled to have Rosa here today, and she has a lot of fantastic information to share with you. Now, we just want to mention, though, that as a nonprofit, Oats and Senior Planet from AARP does not endorse any platforms or products. We encourage all of you, though, to take learnings from these presentations, from our presenters, and look at the market to see what, if anything, any products or services on this topic, it might be a good fit for you. Now let's learn a little bit about Rosa. Rosa Di Grottole is the owner and academic director of the Italian Dream Academy, where she leads academic programs and teaches online Italian classes. She also develops immersive cultural experiences, including book clubs, museum collaborations, and study abroad programs. She has over 8 years of teaching experience and holds master's degrees in art history and in teaching Italian language and culture to foreigners, both earned cum laude. Rosa also lectures full-time at The Ohio State University and contributes to curriculum development there. So let's all give a warm welcome to Rosa de Cotole. And Rosa, thank you so much for being here as our presenter today.
Thank you
I'll
so
pass
much
it
for
forward.
inviting me. Thank you. So I would like to start my presentation with a quick survey that you can reply to this question: which languages are you learning or you are interested in learning, in the chat, or if you feel comfortable, you can use the Mentimeter. If you just grab your phone and you go to this website, menti.com, it will just ask you to put a passcode here. And then we will start seeing popping up all your languages. Okay, I see in the chat Spanish, Italian. Okay, good.
Hebrew and Italian, I see in there.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
French and Spanish, Japanese, German. Very good. Okay.
A lot of bilingual and trilingual students here today.
Yeah. Okay. Italian news, Spanish review and improve, French review and improve. Amazing. Swedish, Greek, Spanish, Dutch. Fantastic. Okay. Depends where I move. Okay, so I guess you want to move. Nice. Ukrainian. Perfect. Okay, my second question is, are you currently studying? I mean, probably many of you, yes. Yes, yes, no. So many yeses. Okay, that's amazing. No, just beginning.
On my own, one word a day.
Yeah.
That's my one way to go about it, yeah. I try that.
Perfect. And the third one is, why do you want to study foreign language? And again, you can type that in the chat or in Mentimeter. My heritage, nice. For travel, it's good for my brain, amazing. Keep my brain working. Heritage language. Travel, interact with people, keep brain working, amazing. Enjoyment, brain active, I enjoy languages, ease of travel, sense of accomplishment. Love the Italian people in culture and area. Nice. Languages in Washington, D.C. and at my church. Okay, so we have many motivation, and motivation, it is really the driving force when we learn a new skill and a language in general. So going back to my PowerPoint, let's see, sorry. Let's start with talking about general, before we mention some strategies, let's talk about general like misconception or belief that we have for adult learners when we learn a new language. Some of these might sound familiar to you, and you probably would think that those are true. But let's see, what are those beliefs? I hear very often that adults think that they cannot become fluent in a foreign language. What do you think? Is this something that resonates with you? It is a familiar thing, or do you think you can become fluent? False. Nice. Not true. Tall is harder, but not impossible. Agree. False. It's more difficult. Nonsense. Very good. Okay. Agree, but very hard. Difficult. Don't agree. Okay. Perfect. Let's see the next one. You must live abroad to speak well. What is your idea about it? No. No. Disagree. No. No. Okay, many no's. Perfect. Yes, it is true that it really helps. Absolutely. Maybe. Yes, absolutely. You need a special talent for languages. What is your idea? Helps. Yes. My brain does. Okay. You just need to be determined and motivated. Yes. Some people are more able to learn just memory. Just to be open to learn. Yes, willing to learn. Very good. You can learn a new language in 3 months. Is this possible? No. Not to speak fluently. Not me. This is very fun. All things are possible. That is also true. Nothing is impossible. Okay. No, not in 3 months. Okay. You need a great memory to learn a foreign language. It helps. Maybe. Yes, certainly helps. Okay. Yes, it is helpful, but we can learn strategies to work on that. Basic communication in 3 months. Perfect. And grammar is a must study subject. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, yes, yes. Okay, no for traveling. So many yeses. Okay, okay, so interesting. Some no's. Okay, it is helpful in learning to construct a sentence. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So for the first one, yeah, mainly all of you said that it is nonsense. And yes, absolutely everybody. All of us, we can learn a language, and there is no really a specific age for that. We often hear that children, they learn faster, they learn in a different way, and that is true. For a couple of reasons that we can absolutely use to work on our learning when we learn as adults. One of them is that children are not afraid of making mistakes. They speak freely and don't worry about grammar. They also have a huge amount of input in school, friends, cartoons, family, and so they are constantly exposed to the target language. And their brains are not developing yet the pronunciation pathways. They don't have a referring language like we do. We often compare, so they often sound more native-like. But technically, what they do is something that we can absolutely do. So we can let go our fear of making mistakes and trying to speak more spontaneously. Of course, when we are adults, that's something that is more difficult to do, but that really helps with that idea. And as for the inputs, we can create environments. We will talk about full immersion in a bit, but we can certainly create environments where we hear constantly and we use the language daily. As for the pronunciation, we can use repetition, we can play with words, sentences, and phrases. So, of course, we can become fluent even if we are not learning that as a first native language. As for the second one, living abroad, it is, some of you said that also that really helps. But mainly you said no, and that is correct. Immersion in another country is amazing because we are constantly exposed to opportunities to practice, but you don't have to move abroad to make real progress. And even if you live abroad, you must be intentional. Like if you live abroad and you are not interested in learning the language, you can be in a different country for 20 years and not learning the language. So that simply being in a country doesn't automatically make you fluent. Real progress comes from seeking meaningful practice. So having conversations, engaging with media, and using the language every day. And we can use that, we can do that as we are doing now with online partners, conversation clubs, by watching movies, listening to podcasts. All those can build fluency effectively. The secret, and we're going to talk about strategies and tips, will be just doing regular and working on exposure in an engaging way. But living abroad offers a huge bonus that is the development of the intercultural competence, because we can learn and understand local costumes, humor, and social nuances that is not really possible to have and to grasp from afar. As for talent, yes, we don't really need to be naturally gifted. Certainly, that really helps if we have an innate talent, but motivation, consistency, and strategy, those are the key learning point. Motivation, that is why I was asking you, why are you studying a language? Because that really is the reason to keep going. For everything, not just for languages, we don't always have the discipline to practice every day, but if we constantly remind ourselves why we are learning a language, that helps. So if you have a trip planned, or if you have to work with a language, if you want to make friends, and you keep in mind that will help you with the discipline. Consistency, so practice every day. This is something that I suggest constantly to my students. Do not wait the day before a class to work on your homework. And think about their homework are just like tools, but the goal is that every day you practice in different ways. And strategy. Since we don't really have a lot of time, or maybe we do, it is important to use our time when we have all those tools that they currently have in a wise way. Sometimes maybe we spend 1 hour doing things that are not really helpful. So knowing how to use, how to review, and how to get feedback for what we are learning, it is very important. Yes, all of you said it is not possible. I see often, because now looks like everybody wants to teach a language, yeah, advertisement, very catchy advertisement. You can learn a language in 3 months. And some people believe that that is possible. And so if we don't reach that fluency, they get frustrated. But as some of you said, real fluency takes consistent practice over months or years. We can absolutely learn basic conversation, greetings, ordering food, introducing yourself. But beyond that, we need absolutely more time to work on that. So just managing your expectation, and that leads to an important fact: celebrate small wins. So if you are able to understand a segment of a podcast that you were not able to understand 2 weeks ago, or if you are able to hold a short conversation, do not think, oh, but I wish I could do more. Just celebrate what you have, and step by step, you will reach all the fluency. So do not expect perfection overnight. It is pretty impossible to be perfect when we speak another language, when we learn another language, because there are so many various things that we need. Like we have listening, we have writing, we have several skills that we need to develop for that. Yes, memory helps, but we have many strategies, spaced repetition, apps that we can use to keep practicing that. So there are good techniques that can replace if we don't feel that, oh, I'm not really good at memorizing vocabulary, etc. Many of you said that grammar helps. Or that is important. I would say that goes back to the old approach that we had in teaching and learning languages. Grammar helps for structuring sentences, but the old approach was like, okay, we really need to know everything, how to conjugate things, the gender of words, and the vocabulary. But the problem is that if we only focus on grammar, and if we wait to be perfect in grammar before we start speaking, we may not start, because the goal is really to communicate. So we really need to focus on communication and the practical use. And then the grammar rules are learned in context. In the past, we had or like the old textbooks were like, okay, that's the English version, that's the French or Spanish, Italian version. So there was a like back-to-back translation. There was fill in the blanks, conjugate, drills, many verbs, kind of boring activities, because that was the key point. But then researchers realized that that was not really super helpful for in order to communicate, because this is not what our goal is. Our goal is not really just make sure that we remember all the conjugations and all the vocabulary, that we can use those conjugations and those vocabulary, those new words. So it is important, but we as instructors, we need to balance the importance of focusing on grammar, but at the same time, just go and put yourself out there and practice. So in all our classes, students, we have a full immersion. We speak in Italian from the very first day, and students are like, whoa. And there are some students that they want extra activities because they want to practice more grammar, and that is okay. I love homework in grammar activities, but that has not to be our goal, okay? So what are the best practices? We covered a bit already. Consistency. So do not wait. I don't know, like one day on Saturday, I have 3 hours and I can read everything in French or in Spanish and Italian. I can listen to a song, watch a movie. Do not do that just in one day. It is much more effective that you do a bit every day. And this is something that we can apply to everything. When I was younger, I was studying piano, and my teacher was telling me that every single time, like, do not wait before a piano lesson, but do that every day. So that is really a general skill that we can apply to just going to the gym. Do not go for 3 hours just one day, but maybe every day for like 40 minutes or every other day, and other things. To go back to the idea that like kids, they are exposed constantly without even realizing that the variety and the full immersion is like very important. And as we were saying, we have 4 skills when we learn, when we talk about languages. So listening, speaking, writing, and reading. I mean, nowadays we have many tools. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, there were like CD-ROMs. There were no videos, no access to movies in different languages. Now we can really reproduce a bubble in our own house with all those tools. But as I was saying, we need to work on them effectively and intentionally. So for the listening, you can, of course, listen to podcasts. There are several podcasts in all languages with like news in slow French or news in slow Italian, YouTube videos with like short videos, advertisement, movies, and bunch of apps that we'll talk more about later. Speaking. The practice with a partner or a tutor or a group class, that's really important, because when we just read something on a book, when we cover grammar rules, we think we got it, and probably we do. But then until we actually speak, we don't really realize how much we retained. And so practicing and speaking, it is really how we understand if we actually got it. With the writing, we can learn more vocabulary. What I always suggest to my students is to write what they write and actually read about things that they like. So writing can be write what you see like in your house, or what you did. If you know past tense, what you did yesterday. If you know future tense, what you will do tomorrow. What are your plans? It doesn't have to be an amazing writing every day. We can talk about what was your grocery shopping list. It can be everything. So just something that in the moment really helps you with the motivation. And if you don't have that motivation that day, maybe just one sentence in your target language saying that you don't want to write everything, anything that day, because blah, blah, blah. So try to use even few sentences every day. And reading can be about, again, everything. The goal is that you read things that you like. So if you're interested in arts, in cooking, whatever you like, because we don't have to be immersed in things that are not resonating with what we are, because even if we are learning another language, we really want to be ourselves. So we really need to be motivated in doing what we love. The approach, if you realize that a specific approach doesn't work with you, just be sure to be flexible and adjust methods to suit your needs. Because of course, everybody learns differently. So even if you are in a group class, the instructor should be able to be close to all the needs that there are in a group class. Avoid translation. That goes back to the previous idea about translation in the textbook. The new textbook, they do not have translation. They do not have pre-filled tables with all the grammar rules, because in that way the student was receiving passively information. Instead, the new approach is that the student is actually the goal of our classes. So you are the person who decides and who discovers the rule about something by reading, by listening with your classmates. And the instructor is a facilitator of that progress. Is more a guide, not a lecture like we are doing now, that I'm talking, but we should emphasize the role, the different role of the student. And learning context, vocabulary or grammar, not just by memorization, but from real situations, stories where you can put the words in context, and that will help with memorizing and remembering them. So speaking of that, I do have now a tiny activity that I was planning to do in the breakout rooms, but we cannot because we are happily and likely too many, just to show you what we were saying. So I'm going to read the first part that is basically an introduction for myself. And then I don't know if one or two of you wants to try. We just practice the words and the dialogue. And that really goes, every time I tell my students in my classrooms, we are in a safe environment. You are not judged. That's the only way that we have for learning. Okay, Malvina? Is that a hand for volunteer?
Yes, I think so. So Malvina, I'm going to send you a link to unmute your microphone. Go ahead and click on that link on your screen.
Okay.
Ciao Malvina.
Buongiorno, buongiorno.
Buongiorno. So Malvina, studi italiano?
Sì, ho studiato molti anni fa a Perugia.
Ah, Perugia, ok, molto bene. Perugia è molto famosa per lo studio dell'italiano. Molto bene, 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 Malvina. Allora, vuoi fare questo dialogo?
Sì, ok.
Pronta? Ok. Allora, inizio. Okay, let's do that. I read first question for all the people here, and then we do the dialogo. Allora, this would be: Ciao, mi chiamo Rosa, sono italiana, abito a Columbus in Ohio. E tu?
Ciao. Sì, ciao. Mi chiamo Malvina, sono americana, abito a San Diego, in California.
Perfetto. Molto bene, perfetto, brava Malvina, benissimo.
Grazie.
And Linda, I see Linda. I don't know, Linda, you have your camera on. You want to try that too? Oh, Johnny, we cannot hear you.
Is it Linda Champ that we're looking?
Yes.
Okay, Linda.
I mean, I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got
There
it
you go.
now. I got it. Thank you.
Linda,
so what
ready?
part do I?
Okay,
so
allora I'll be the yellow and you will be the arancione, okay? So giallo.
Sure.
Ciao, come ti chiami?
Oh, mi chiami e tu?
So mi chiamo and then you say your name. Mi chiamo
Mi chiamo Linda.
e tu, perfetto. Mi chiamo Rosa and dove abiti?
Abite Aurora, Colorado. E tu?
Molto bene, abito a Columbus in Ohio. Piacere.
Piacere.
Nice. Piacere vuol dire nice to meet you. Piacere. Benissimo. And Angelica, anche tu camera on? Vuoi provare? Ok, Angelica.
Certamente.
Ok, Angelica, anche tu parli italiano?
Non, mais je l'aime l'italiano.
Ah, ma parli francese, Angelica?
Oui, un petit peu.
Un po', okay, okay. Yes, I was telling Johnny that, I mean, Romance languages, of course, they are molto simili, so we can certainly use them as a base when we study a different language. Ok, allora, ciao, come ti chiami?
Mi chiamo Angelica e tu?
Mi chiamo Rosa, dove abiti?
Abito a Chicago. E tu?
Abito a Columbus, in Ohio. Piacere.
Piacere.
Molto bene, very good, bravissimi. Anche Steve, giusto? Non so, Steve is waving, but I don't know if Steve is waving at me.
Let me take a
No,
look.
no. Okay, no waving at us. Okay. Molto bene. So, very good. Thank you to Malvina, Linda, and Angelica. Yes, so if we try, we are not afraid. With like, now I was modeling the conversation. So, mi chiamo Rosa, sono italiana. And on this page, like on this slide, there is no English. But I guess that through, I mean, all of you know my name, that is Rosa, so we can guess mi chiamo. Italiana is a cognate, so Italian, Italiano, American, Americano, and we all know Columbus, Ohio, so we can understand that abito means I live. So we don't really need to have a page where there is the same conversation or introduction in English, but if we have good scaffolding and strategies, we can learn the language with full immersion and repetition and modeling and no fear of trying and speaking. Because I mean, if we are afraid in a safe context as a class should be, can you imagine when you go to a different country and we have to communicate with people there? That will be really impossible. So we have to use our time in class, in your conversation clubs, really to practice as much as possible and become confident so that you are not afraid when you go to the country that you are studying the language with. Okay, so now back to technology. As we said, we have many tools, probably too many, that we can use now to learn a language. And those are really good and powerful. Support for adults, but also for kids studying on their own. They offer quick practice, flexible practice that you can fit into your day. And as we were saying, we really need that constant practice. If you have your app and you are on your commute or during lunch break or at the park, wherever you are, you can quickly do a 10-minute Duolingo or something like that. So those are really good for listening skills, to like listen to the sounds, vocabulary, but they cannot really replace real conversation. Okay, in here I put, like, if you type on Google just apps to learn a language, you have a complete list. So those are really just some ideas. They probably already know, since mainly you are all studying already a different language. There is Duolingo, Babbel. There are apps with songs. So if you like music, there are those apps that you can listen to your favorite music or song in different language and then fill in the blanks. There are Quizlet, anche for flashcards. So really to work on vocabulary. Now, my suggestion for like if you create your own flashcards would be, again, going back to the best practices to avoid translations. So if you have even like real flashcards, do not write the Italian, let's say, in English or French in English word, but maybe you can write a sentence, or you can just put like drawing something. Let's say if you are learning the word apple, mela, just try to draw an apple. Do not write apple and then on the other side of the flashcard mela, because again, we want to avoid that that step that we go first to our language and then to the new language. We want to think in our target language. And of course, less English we have, more like easier would be that that step. Of course, we said there are many beautiful things about apps. Those are we can work on them everywhere. Those are very flexible. There is a lot of gamification. There is competition. Like there are some apps where you have to be like, you have different leagues and then you need to go up. And then if you lose points, you go down. So that really helps with the motivation aspect, but it can be after a bit, you maybe are just like tired of using the apps. And it can be passive. So we were saying that it's really important that the student is an active learner, so that you are actually using the language and not just receiving a bunch of information about it. And they do not replace real human interaction. And it is really important to have the human connections. Why is that important? Because speaking with real people forces you to think on your feet and improving speed and natural expression. So of course, if you are like just saying words or sentences to work on pronunciation, that's okay, that you are talking on yourself, like on your own, or just repeating aloud. But in order to build the fluency, you need another person in front of you to make sure that the other person is understanding what you are saying, or that you are understanding what the other person is saying. So in that case, we have an immediate and natural feedback, because we can absolutely see if the other person understood, and we can adjust pronunciation or word choice on the spot to reach our goal. When we have a human connection interaction, we practice more. And we keep showing up, because we are like, okay, I have that meeting with my instructor, I have that meeting with my classmate. And so that really helps us with accountability. Talking to speakers, so to real people, expose us to custom humor and idioms that you cannot really get, like nuances that you cannot really get from textbooks or apps. Confidence. So if you have a positive experience with real people, that reduce fear of mistakes. If you have a negative experience, of course, we are frustrated, but that really helps us, like, okay, maybe we can do better next time. This is what I did wrong this time, and I can improve that aspect. And the development of intercultural competence, the adaptation, so how we adapt communication styles and how we build empathy across cultures. The intercultural competence is like an essential skill of this century, and that really allows us to work on empathy and flexibility with others and also with ourselves, because sometimes we we are probably we judge ourselves very strongly, like I'm not enough, I'm trying and studying, but I cannot really improve. And that is, like I tell my students, yes, that's okay, it's absolutely normal, but let's use that time to build something that is valuable. So yeah, it's okay if we feel frustrated, if we don't understand, but if we keep trying, we will get there. When I moved here to the US 10 years ago, I could not really understand, and I could not do like a talk like this one, not even in a million years. And I assumed that my English was good enough because I had all my grammar rules, fantastic, all my textbook were great, but real life is different. And so, of course, I really wanted to express myself. I wanted to build my life here, and real life sometimes was difficult and challenging, but challenges really helped me to build the confidence that I have today. So it is absolutely fine, but there is a lot of psychological meaning of psychological aspects when we have to speak or to understand a different language. So that is why, I guess from personal experience, but in general, that is why in class, the approach is really to recreate a bubble where we immerse ourselves with our students, just to help that like bridging that, okay, I am in my home and I go to a different country, but with like online classes or conversational classes, etc., you can step by step build that fluency and confidence. So to finish and to like move forward, find your language community. That can be meetup online groups, language schools. As Johnny was saying, Italian Dream Academy, I am in Columbus, but we moved online all our classes. So there are several schools about all the languages online or in person with language cafe or cafe. Conversation clubs, and practical tips. We all agreed at the beginning of this talk that we can all achieve high proficiency, so you already know that. And consistency, approach, and variety will help with your progress. Use technology as a tool, but do not skip human interaction. And small daily actions, they add up to big results. Okay, thank you so much for listening to my presentation.
All right, thank you so much, Rosa. And so we do have a few questions that came into the chat room. I'll share those with you here. Let's see. All right. So
thank you.
So first question from Susan M came in earlier. How would listening to a podcast help when I have no clue what they are talking about if I have no skills in a language?
Yes, so podcast, there are several, so for everything we do, like reading, listening, of course, we have to go like step by step. If I have no idea, let's say about German, I cannot really just grab a book in German and read that, but I will start with like short stories. And so same idea with podcast. Honestly, probably I am the only one on the planet, but I don't like podcasts in Italian or in English in general. It's not really my favorite thing. But like my students, sometimes they use like podcasts. There are for beginners. There are several like levels. Maybe they are slow, maybe they are short. In that case, the goal of listening is not really to understand, but really to be exposed to the new sounds. And that is also something that we can apply for when we read. When we read something in a different, in our target language, our goal is never really to understand everything is going on, because if we understand everything, that means that we already know the language. So there is no reason to study that language. But with like cognates and like, I don't know, context, step by step, even if at the beginning is like I will never get there. There are so many words to learn. I promise you that if you read every day and if you listen to something every day, all those sounds and all those words will become familiar. And then when you read the next time or when you watch a movie the next time, you will see, oh, that's the word that I just learned yesterday. Voila, I have a new word. And word by word, you get there. I hope that answers.
Thanks, Rosa. And then Vicky asked earlier, I am challenged with avoiding trying to translate to my native language. Any suggestions for overcoming that challenge?
Yeah, that is unfortunately a difficult thing, and we all do that because, of course, we are adults, and that's the difference between that I was mentioning about pathway in pronunciation. It is impossible to completely forget that, but as I was mentioning, for example, for the flashcard, start with basic things. Do not write the English word and then the French word or the Spanish word, but maybe you can just use an image or something else. And of course, also in that case, the very first steps, the very first sentences, the structures, they will be connected. And I mean, it's not really bad if we say, I mean, how do we say that in English? Or why in English that is the structure of the sentence, but in Italian is not like that. So if we use that for comparison, that really helps with the structure and we understand. But if you have that in mind, that you have to avoid the translation, when you move up, you really don't do that anymore and you don't even realize that you are not doing that. So it really becomes natural to have that approach. But of course, at the beginning, it is okay to compare or to use the rules that we know to learn a different language. But if we know that that is not really the best, we know that we have to avoid that. And while we go up, that really helps if we are aware of that.
Excellent. And Kate had a really good question, something that I thought about myself in the past. If you have already learned a second language, what happens if you stop using it? While working, I used a second language, but I don't need it and I'm not exposed to it now that I'm retired. Should I make an effort to stick with it or just drop it if I don't need it? Or should I branch out and learn a different language now?
I mean, that really depends on if you like that second language. If you like the second language and you are eager to regain what you had, I'm sure the language is right there somewhere. So if we refresh with, again, different tools, the language will be back. Again, we need to be intentional. If we don't care about the language anymore, the second language, it will probably be a waste of time. But if it's a fun thing, certainly it's there. It will not take a lot to regain that. What I tell my students is like, you know more than you think you know. Like when they are overwhelmed with like all the things that we are learning is like, no, but I feel that I am learning, that I am forgetting what I had. That is not really possible. Maybe a bit, but if we practice and refresh, things are there. In fact, when students are, for example, starting Italian, and the majority of my students is like older than 60, 65. They say, when I ask, did you study the languages? And they were like, oh yeah, I studied Spanish 40 years ago in high school. I don't remember anything. And then when they start Italian, it's like, oh, I see that I'm saying some words in Spanish. So it's there. It's like, yes, it's there. So if you want to keep working on that, it's there and you find ways to continue. It really depends on what we love to do with languages and what we love to learn.
Okay. Perfect. And then there was a couple of questions about learning apps, right? Like Duolingo. What do you think about Duolingo? And Wanda is asking which apps are best for beginners, for example, for Spanish, German, etc. Malvino is wondering what you thought about Duolingo.
Yeah, Duolingo is like super popular, and yeah, I would say that all of them, they are structured in a way. Like, for example, if you are super beginner, I would not use the Songs app because again, that will be probably overwhelming. But that I will use that just to listen to some sounds and words. But yes, to build vocabulary, all those apps are really good. I mean, they are changing Duolingo like constantly. When I used Duolingo 10 years ago for my English, it was kind of a very basic app. Now with AI and everything is just like super up. Um, Again, those are just tools, very important tools because like I was saying, Duolingo is like a game. So, and you can do 10 minutes of Duolingo everywhere. So it really helps with the repetition and the pronunciation of the sounds, etc. All of them mainly are good for beginners. And usually all the students now, they start with apps. And then after a couple of months, are like, Rosa, we probably need a person that we want to interact to because you learn a lot at the beginning, and that is good, like sentences, structures. But again, as I was saying, it can cause then like, okay, it's boring. I'm using words that, or I'm learning words that I'm not going to use. So that is also important. We need to learn things that are relevant and meaningful for our conversation, for traveling, or about things that we love.
Okay, and Steve had a question that was interesting as well. He was wondering if the apps that we were just talking about teach grammar, and are in-person classes better than online classes, in your opinion?
I'm sorry, which classes, Johnny?
In-person versus online.
So I teach online and in person, and I am always myself. So I am like I am right here in a real classroom, and when I have my online classes, I do pretty much the same things. There are, of course, differences, but I really think that you can learn a language with online classes. You don't have to be in a real classroom to have a conversation or to listen to your instructor, to practice. Sometimes I feel that online for instructor and also for students is kind of easier. Like when I create short breakout rooms to work with different partners, I can easily do, okay, 2 minutes, Malvina and Linda, practice that. And then we come back in here and we just rotate. When you are in a classroom, you have to stick with a partner that you have close to you. So there are, of course, good things about both of the environments. The important thing is that you have a real person in front of you for a live interaction. So if I were to just talk to a black screen, do recording or something like that, that's really not my cup of tea because I feel that I'm just, again, lecturing and I am not interacting with my students. So whether the interaction is online, like right now, or in person, the important thing is that you are participating. And there are many strategies to have students participating in online classes or in-person classes.
Okay, and as far as the apps, a couple of people were asking, are the apps a good choice for learning correct pronunciation? Are they good choices for teaching grammar? Or is it just mostly for beginners?
I think there are apps in general. They have like for free, you can do Word and flashcard, and then if you pay, we can give you access to some explanation. Grammar explanation, you can find grammar explanation about everything online in textbooks. So I will not really use the apps for the grammar explanation. And again, I will not really focus on that in general. But the apps are just for a quick vocabulary building, I think, and really good for pronunciation because you are constantly exposed. I mean, all of them, they have the audio section. So yes, if you hear a word, then you repeat that word. in French, in Spanish, in German. Yes, absolutely.
And are there any apps that offer a live person that can talk to you? Do you know? I haven't seen any come across any.
Like a real live person or an AI person?
Oh yeah, I know. That's a good question.
I don't
mean,
know. They
are
are
there both?
building. Yeah, they are building. I don't like that, so I'm not really aware of, because I'm not looking for that.
Mhm.
But for sure, there are apps that are helping finding partners that you can talk to, or yeah, instructors, tutors. Yes,
Mhm.
there are like on several of them. Yes.
Okay. And Terry has a good question here. I heard Italian while growing up. They say, as an adult, I have tried to learn Spanish. Would it be better to try to learn Italian instead of Spanish?
Sure, yes, of course. No, I'm joking. Yeah, again, it really depends. I don't know, it really depends on why you are learning a language. If you learn the language because you want to reconnect with your heritage, I would certainly recommend Italian. If you want to travel to Spain, of course, Spanish will work. When we pick a language, I guess we really need to, and if we have zero idea, maybe you can try and see what really resonates more with you. If it's Italian or Spanish, and just continue. And that is a good thing about, like, I don't know, Duolingo or other apps. You can easily switch from a language to another language. And maybe you can do some lessons in Italian, some lessons in Spanish, and then what you like the best, you just keep working on it.
And I also want to thank you, Rosa, for being here, for presenting with us today. And it seems like, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff coming into the chat room about your
Thank
presentation.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you.